Today we will learn about the separation of powers. One of the most basic traits of U.S. government is the separation of powers. This is the name for how our government is divided into three branches: the legislative branch, the executive branch, and the judicial branch. The delegates who wrote the Constitution wanted to make sure that no group or individual got too much power, so we see the separation of powers at the national and state level. The part of our government that makes the laws is called the legislative branch. At the national level, the legislative branch is called Congress. At the state level, it is called the state legislature. And at the local level, it is often called a council or commission. The part of our government that enforces the laws is called the executive branch. At the national level, the executive branch is headed by the president. At the state level, the executive branch is headed by the governor. The part of our government that interprets the laws is called the judicial branch. At the national level, we have a complex system of federal courts, and at the state level, each state has its own system of state courts and local courts. Within this system, the national government is more powerful than the state government. In the Constitution, Article 6, Section 2 to be specific, there is something called the Supremacy Clause. The Supremacy Clause states, "This Constitution, and the laws of the United States, which shall be made in pursuance thereof, and all treaties made, or which shall be made under the authority of the United States, shall be the supreme law of the land." This means that any laws passed by Congress, or any treaties made by the President, or any policies made by the executive departments are superior to any state laws. As far as the courts go, they do not pass any laws, but they do interpret laws. This means they get to decide what laws mean. To decide what a law means, they often rely on a precedent. A precedent is a case from the past that is now used as an example for similar cases in the future. Sometimes using a precedent is also called stare decisis, which is Latin for to let the decision stand. Basically, once a court makes a decision, they use that decision to set an example for all similar cases. For example, the Supreme Court case Gideon v. Wainwright set the precedent that if you cannot afford an attorney, one must be provided for you. So if any case comes up in which a person cannot afford an attorney, they use Gideon v. Wainwright as an example and provide that person with a lawyer. When it comes to interpreting the law, the U.S. Supreme Court has a very special power called judicial review. Judicial review means that the Supreme Court alone gets to decide what the Constitution means, and they can strike down any law that they feel conflicts with the rules already established in the Constitution. When the framers of the Constitution separated the powers into three branches, they also divided the powers into three different types: enumerated powers, reserved powers, and concurrent powers. Enumerated powers are powers in the Constitution that are given to the national government. Examples include maintaining an army, coining money, conducting foreign affairs, controlling immigration, etc. Reserved powers are powers in the Constitution that are given to the states. Examples include regulating commerce within the state, setting up public schools, making marriage and divorce laws, conducting elections, etc. Concurrent powers are powers in the Constitution that the national and state government share. Examples include collecting taxes, borrowing money, establishing courts, enforcing laws, etc. So the national government does not have control over the reserved powers, and the state governments do not have power over the enumerated powers, but they both share control over the concurrent powers.